It's amazing working with a director who's from a visual background for me, because she just wanted to create a totally beautiful and unique version of Emma. So it makes my life a lot easier, to be honest, because her understanding of colour and space and proportion and everything is there already. So yeah, it was great. What we were trying to achieve was something uniquely period in a way that other people hadn't done before, which was trying to incorporate the Georgian colours, which quite often aren't always seen in many films. And that was finding the locations, like primarily our main location, which we could then kind of inject these gorgeous colours into. So that the colour aesthetic was the critical one. And also, you know, with Alex as well, we you know, that was the critical thing, is trying to coordinate the costume and the colour of the design together. That was right from the beginning. So I think the colour aesthetic was one thing, and also not so much from a design perspective, but the aesthetic of fun as well, and humour, which I think this Emma particularly has all those elements. The major task when we were finding the locations was finding Emma's house, Hartfield, and we had to find Helen, who's our location manager, Helen Lensner. She had to try and find a property that hadn't been used too much before, one which we could embrace the colour as, you know, like decorate rooms basically, which is incredibly difficult because a lot of these properties are National Trust, you can't touch them. And yeah, and also Alex needed that information very early on to get on with the costumes. So we're under quite a lot of pressure right from the beginning of the film to find the house. And then kind of once we found the house, then to get the colours sorted out, because Alex didn't have very much lead time to start all her costumes, so she could get on with making the costumes. So it was, yeah, it was a hard task, but she did it and found this amazing house. What was amazing about Firle Place is that it is a Tudor house with sort of Georgian Baroque building added onto it. And since that period, they haven't really changed the house radically. There's no Victorian additions. It's pretty much preserved as it was, you know, in the late 18th century. So, and then the family who owned the house, they were very, and the trust who owned the house, it's a family and it's in trust, were very, very excited about us coming here. And I was very nervous because, okay, we got our foot in the door, they were interested in us filming there, but what were they going to say if I said, could I change the colour of this? Can I do that there? And they were absolutely incredible. When we were choosing the locations, the symmetry aspect of how Autumn and Chris were going to make this piece look like. So when we were looking at locations, me and Helene, that was very relevant to not have you know, an exterior that was a bit like this on that side and like that on the other side. It needed to be symmetrical. The best example, I think, is Mrs. Goddard's school, which has got the perfect kind of symmetry, symmetrical frontage, you know, which embodied everything that they wanted to do. So it was really exciting, yeah. I mean, it was a challenge, but I like a challenge. At the time when we were all crewing up and everybody was a woman, I realised that the film seemed to be very straightforward. Everything, I mean, no deference to men or anything, but it was just like everything seemed to slot into place very quickly. There seemed to be a kind of, you know, there's a brothership, if you forgive the word, you know, sistership with women. I think where things just it very naturally came together, and I think that really, then there's a lot of harmony was the other thing. Everything was very harmonious, and I think we all got on, well, we did get on very, very well, and it just made for things being a lot smoother. And I think it's really, it's a real, if this film is fantastic, which I think it's going to be, I think it's a really good reflection on how all these different elements of female creativity can come together and produce something amazing. It's a story defined by one name, but it's about many different characters, which I think Autumn and Ellie, the writer, have made kind of work brilliantly, and Autumn's made it come to life. And also the other key thing, I think that Autumn, apart from her incredible eye and eye for beauty, is that she's brought in this extra element of humour, which is going to really kind of set it above everything else.